A socialist revolution underway in New York City, thanks to Mamdani's victory in the Democrat primary there for mayor. Is this going to affect the rest of the Democrat Party and therefore the rest of the country? I mean, that's the big question. And it's not just contingent on whether Mamdani wins the election for New York City's, the biggest city in the country's mayor. I think it also goes to how the Democrats are positioning themselves as a party and what the younger cadre of Democrats is planning to do going forward. You have to first look at what was effective for this guy. And remember that when you're talking about socialism, it always appeals to people. And he's a self-described democratic socialist. It always appeals to people who would rather think of the world as they wish instead of the world as it is, or people who are emotion-based instead of reality-based. So, there's some other entity out there who can make all of my problems go away if only I give them power. And in fact, part of this is always, if I give this entity, in this case, Mamdaniism and Mamdani himself, if I give him power, he will hurt the people that I don't like, the capitalists, the fat cats, Wall Street, the high earners, hurt the people I don't like and help me by taking from them. So the politics of envy, resentment, and delusion play very largely in the minds of individuals who go for this socialism stuff. The fact that it has always resulted in the same kinds of failures everywhere that it has been tried doesn't change their minds. This time it will work. That's what they tell themselves. Because really, socialism is not about an economic system or even a political system. Socialism is a religion because it requires faith. It is not evidence-based. It is a faith-based tradition. And that is where someone like a Mamdani is particularly powerful. He is telling people, trust me, I'll bring down the cost of groceries in your grocery stores. I'll create a lot more housing so that housing costs come down. I'll make the community safer by doing less enforcement of the law. These are delusions. None of these things, first of all, he's not going to be able to do any of those things. And I know he won't be able to do any of those things because he doesn't understand the basic mechanisms by which these things have to exist and go up and down and increase and decrease. He doesn't get it. And he doesn't care to get it because the promise is the whole point. The promise is, you could say the hope and change here is what this guy is offering. It's certainly not based on any results. He hasn't gotten any results. It's not based on any expertise. His only expertise is in using social media to pretend that he knows how to fix things that he doesn't understand anything about. But there are a lot of very ignorant people in the electorate in New York, and any electorate for that matter. And there are a lot of people who have resentments and frustrations that want to believe it is the fault of other people. It is, the reason that people have a hard time affording rent in New York City isn't because they're, one, choosing to live in New York. There are a lot of places you can live in America with much lower cost of living than New York City. But they choose to live in New York, and they choose to, in many cases, pursue careers that are not highly compensated, don't have high compensation pathways available to them. And then they have economic stress and instability, and then they want to blame people. Well, they've made choices all along the way here. And if you are and then there's a whole range of different people that would fit into this category, but a lot of the young white voters in New York City who are supporting Mamdani are people who want to have a fancier lifestyle than they do, probably have their parents subsidizing the lifestyle they already have, and want to feel good about themselves for their choice, irrespective of what it actually means, and want someone that promises they're going to make their life better. Even if the way that or the things that they're promising won't have that effect, in fact, will have the opposite effect. If Mamdani gets his way in New York, this is true of so many socialists, if he's actually in charge making decisions, the things that he says he will fix will get worse. Economically, that's the easiest place to see it, but also on issues of criminal justice and keeping people safe on the streets. That's another place where you can see this playing out. So it's quite clear to me. I mean, here he is, by the way, telling everybody that this can work anywhere in America.
You're are running on issues that are very relevant to people in New York City, the cost of housing, free busing. Some have projected, that this is the type of platform that would work in other parts of the country. I mean, you're a proud democratic socialist. Do you think that is a platform that would work for other candidates running in other parts of the country?
Absolutely. I think ultimately this is a campaign about inequality. And you don't have to live in the most expensive city in the country to have experienced that inequality, because it's a national issue. And what Americans coast to coast are looking for are people who will fight for them, not just believe in the things that resonate with their lives, but actually fight and deliver on those very things. And part of how we got to this point was through the endorsements of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Bernie Sanders, who've been leading this fight against oligarchy across the country. And I think that in focusing on working people and their struggles, we also return back to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats in the first place.
Yeah. You see, the plan is to franchise Mamdaniism as it's very similar to AOC. I think Mamdani is more slick and articulate. You know, AOC does come across sometimes as quite stupid when she speaks. That's just true. Now, maybe she's smarter than she comes across just based on the way that she sounds when she talks about certain issues. I think that's probably too charitable, but Mamdani doesn't sound dumb when he talks. His ideas are bad, but the way he presents them is appealing to people. And he himself comes across as very approachable and very low key. And that's powerful in politics. So other Democrats have a lot that they can learn from this guy. And I know that he beat a politically wounded Cuomo, but Cuomo comes from a political dynasty. He was governor of New York. His dad was governor of New York. He comes from a political dynasty. And for him to run in the Empire State in its biggest city and get his ass kicked by a relative newcomer with far less political favors to call in and money to draw upon just goes to show you that the campaign still matters. We saw this with AOC. She initially supplanted, when she won her first term in the United States Congress, she initially supplanted a very established and powerful Democrat. But he didn't really run a campaign. He was lazy. And she went out there and did the whole I'm a bartender, I care about you thing. And that works. And we should be cautious here about dismissing this stuff, because I have to remind everybody, Kamala Harris was the worst candidate in my lifetime, and she didn't lose by that much in the swing states. Yes, she lost the popular vote. Yes, she lost every swing state. But a lot of people voted for Kamala Harris. We have to come to grips with this. It's not like Trump won by 10 or 15 or 20 million votes. A lot of people voted for Kamala Harris. If they had had just a more talented politician, I think it would have been closer. I still think Trump would win, but it would have been closer than it was. And so we cannot rest on this stuff. We cannot assume, because he's a socialist, he can't win. You know, the Democrats, I'm going to give you something that's really, I'm going to give you kind of an out there idea, but I need you to hold with me through this sponsor read for a second. But you're going to want to hear the idea. Some nations have, this is sponsored by Paradigm Press, some nations have a nationwide fund called a sovereign wealth fund. Japan, Norway, Saudi Arabia. It's a national program that many citizens of that country benefit from after the nation invests in the development of an asset or assets. Oil is one such asset. Our nation has never had one, but several states do, like Texas. Well, Jim Rickards, who's got a long history with the White House and the Federal Reserve as an advisor, he says there's an asset worth $150 trillion buried under American soil. And this could be the basis for creating a first sovereign wealth fund. He's Jim Rickards, and you want to hear more of his thinking on this. So go online to birthright2025.com. If he's right, it could make President Trump the most popular president in history and help millions of investors retire wealthy. Go to birthright2025.com to get the details free of charge. That's birthright2025.com, paid for by Paradigm Press. So, there's some theories that I want to present to you. And one of them is, well, first of all, I think that the Democrats don't plan on changing their approach. I think the Democrats believe that that the left-wing approach is actually going to be more successful for them in the next election. Beyond that, I would say we have seen horrific miscalculations from the Democrats politically. prosecuting Trump, raiding Mar-a-Lago. These are massive, massive blunders. Helped elevate him to the presidency a second time. I think they might have made a miscalculation by pushing aside Bernie Sanders in favor of Hillary Clinton. I think the Democrats haven't been able to test out how well a free health care for everybody Democratic Socialists would do in this country. Because one of the problems the Democrats, just hear me out on this, one of the problems Democrats have is they have to always lie to the electorate when it comes election time to pretend there's something else to get enough votes to win. What if they didn't lie? What if they put forward somebody who said, yeah, I'm a Democratic Socialist. Yeah, I want to raise taxes. I want the state to be even bigger and more burdensome and more in charge of your life. I want a de facto open border that's going to bring in people from all over the world and just let them come here and do whatever they want. If they were open about this, I know we assume, that person would get crushed in the election. Really? Bernie Sanders, who is not a charming guy, is not a charismatic guy, and is ancient, has hardcore supporters in the Democrat Party who have never left his side. And I think he would have won that primary against Hillary. I just bring this up as a little bit of maybe provocative or outside the box thinking that our belief is on the right, a Democratic Socialist can't win. And that may have been true for all of our lives, but it might not always be true. And someone like a Mamdani who has some charisma, has some understanding of how to message, has some understanding of how to connect. I'm not saying it will be him. He was born in a foreign country. He can't be president. But when you look at people who are going to be learning from him and trying to leverage his skill set for their own ends, we could be seeing something. We could be seeing a different approach from this Democrat Party than many anticipated. So, all right. And will Eric Adams or Cuomo be able to beat this guy? I don't think so. I think Mamdani is going to be the mayor. So I won't spend too much time on this. I know there's some hopes. Last minute, they're going to rally around or Curtis Sliwa or something. No, I think Mamdani is going to win. I think that's where we are. I hope I'm wrong. We'll talk more about it. Shields high.